Cyberpunk as a setting or even genre stems from around the 80s, dragging with it the wonderful concept of retrofuturism, where we see a future as it was envisioned by people from the past. With Cyberpunk, you're generally getting an 80s version of what the future might hold, and most of this is attributed to our first pick in the list. Let's do this. Number 1. Blade Runner. Directed by Ridley Scott, Blade Runner has become an essential piece of cinema history, further powered by a great performance by Harrison Ford. Blade Runner, which is now set in our past, shows a very dark, decayed, futuristic Los Angeles. It's responsible for much of the imagery which is now considered as quintessential cyberpunk, including rain on neon, skyscrapers plastered with giant video screen commercials, and Asian Western mixes of language and imagery. Another major theme is that of the giant divide between the richest rich and the poorest poor, something pretty relatable to the current global conversation. Harrison Ford plays Deckard, who is a Blade Runner, and a Blade Runner is someone who's tasked with finding and retiring rogue replicants. Replicants are androids that are nearly indistinguishable from humans and are used mostly for slavery. The thing about replicants is that some might not even be aware that they themselves are replicants, which also leads to a lot of fun and guessing about who might or might not actually be a replicant as well. This movie is pretty much required viewing over all of them. When it comes to Cyberpunk, it is the Godfather, so to speak. It may feel a little bit slow by today's standards, but that just gives you more time to appreciate the incredible cinematography by Roger Deakins and also the unbelievable soundtrack.
What's a simulated experience again?
Number 2. Ghost in the Shell. Anime took the cyberpunk setting and genre and ran with it like no one else. As a result, we've been treated to some really amazing animated films, and Ghost in the Shell is definitely one of the best. Just to be clear, we are talking about the Japanese animated film and not the more recent live-action adaptation starring Scarlett Johansson, although the film does still get a lot of the visual style down quite nicely. It's got a great story too, so you really can't go wrong watching this if you somehow missed it so far. It deals with some really interesting topics regarding existentialism and more, and then backs it all up with awesome action scenes and stunning futuristic visuals. Number 3. Altered Carbon. If you want something that's gonna beam the full-blown cyberpunk visual experience directly into your face, then Altered Carbon is the show for you. Season 1 gives you a full plateau of neon lights, huge buildings, flying cars, dingy walkways, impressive modern architecture, and cool tech all in one place. Altered Carbon features cool tech called resleeving, which essentially promises immortality. It's a pretty crazy story, which sees the protagonist wake up after a couple hundred years resleeved into a new body, and is tasked with solving the murder of the very person who hired him. If you're intrigued, you should be, so definitely check it out. Number 4. Alita Battle Angel. We fell in love with Alita at the turn of the century, where anime started becoming more mainstream in the West. It's the story of an android with the body of a young girl that gets found by an odd doctor in a scrap heap and brought back to life, only for them both to realize that she's way more than meets the eye, and must set out to find out who she really is. It's a full-blown futuristic anime cyberpunk setting and story, and both the anime and the movie delivered some great visuals and reasons for watching, so we can happily recommend either. Number 5. Blade Runner 2049. Due to the significance of the Blade Runner films in this genre, we felt it would be good to bookend the list with both of them. As mentioned before, the original Blade Runner is a piece of cinema history and one that changed cinema forever. It is then a tall order to ever expect that a sequel made decades later would be able to come even close to anything as good. Well, we don't deserve the sequel it got, but we got it nonetheless. Blade Runner 2049 is directed by Denis Villeneuve, known for Arrival, Prisoners, Sicario, and the upcoming Dune movie, and stars Ryan Gosling with additional roles played by Robin Wright, Ana de Armas, Jared Leto, and then Harrison Ford returning to play Deckard. As the title suggests, the sequel takes place 30 years after the first, and tells an intriguing story of a replicant Blade Runner who stumbles onto evidence of an unprecedented evolution of the species, and starts to question his own memories and origins. This isn't just an unexpectedly great sequel, it's also just flat out one of the best films to come out in the last 10 years. Its Academy Award-winning cinematography and Hans Zimmer / Benjamin Wallfisch composed score were a treat in IMAX, and if you see it at home, make sure to try and see it on one of the biggest screens and with the best sound system possible. It's worth it. So that's it? Not even close. There's so much good stuff out there, and buffs of films, anime, and cyberpunk will have a notable list of other movies, animes, books, comics, and shows for you to check out. If you're one of those buffs, we'd love nothing more than to have you hit up our comments with more great suggestions for anyone looking to dive deeper into the world and themes of cyberpunk. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and hit the like button. It'll really help us out. Thanks for watching. If you want more cool content, game reviews, movie reviews, and more, you can check us out at www.whatsgood.co.za, and you could also find us on Twitter at whatsgoodcoza.
Never backed down from anything in your life, even when you maybe should have. You go through Night City knowing a stray bullet could